Hello everyone, I'm back. I decided to do one more video before I go to bed because I kind of wanted to get this off my chest because I probably will not be able to go to sleep if I don't. Bloomsburg brought out an article entitled TikTok is Turning Publishing into Fast Fashion. And I was watching a video where she did not agree with that and said it was a poorly constructed argument. And I will literally say this. Wow. You must be totally blinded by what is going on in the publishing world. So let me put in context, time-wise. So 15 years ago, 15 years ago, to get a deal with Scholastic, okay, you had to have two published books. That was on their thing. They had a book that had like the names and addresses of publishing companies. And to get into it, they had requirements that you had to meet in order to be able to be published. Around the time that I was reading this, the rise of self-publishing started appearing. And these were books that the company did not have to take a risk on. The only thing they had to do was print the book as it was ordered. Nowadays, every time I turn around, there is always a new book. There's at least 20, 30, 40 books, literally a month, that are published by either independent authors or people in traditional publishing. It just appears that way. So I'm just going to go with that. Because remember, appearances sometimes are not deceiving. So one of the things that I do as a book talker, as a booktuber, as an author, all this stuff is when I find out that there is hype over a book, I kind of go back and remember my 20s when Harry Potter was really popular. I mean, super popular. And then I was around when Twilight was the thing. But these were authors that got rejection letters and their hopes dashed. They probably drank a lot of bourbon to forget their troubles. I'm just guessing. And finally, somebody took a chance with them and published them. Nowadays, that is not the case. Nowadays, you have Book Talk that really does have a great influence on the publishing world. Because now publishers don't have to guess if a certain group of people want a book or what kind of book they want. They just go on TikTok and they just watch for hours for these videos. And when they see that there's an overwhelming desire for certain kinds of books, they're like, okay, we're going to publish those books. Because the public has spoken about what kind of books they are interested in. So, it says here, I'm reading from Bloomsburg, so please, Bloomsburg, don't tag my for copyright. It says here, whenever you begin reading a book, especially a fictional one, there is a high chance that you're going to sound out at least one of the characters' name wrong. But if it's inside your mind and your mind only, is that really a bad thing? Perhaps not. What about if you're a New York Times bestseller and you don't know how to pronounce the words in your own book? This is something that really gets me. And I think I mentioned this before in one of my videos. What the fuck are you doing? Write a book where you can't even pronounce the names of the characters that you have created. I don't seem to understand that. I mean, every author in the last 50, 60 years can tell you I know exactly how to pronounce the names of these books. Like, for instance, there was a scene in my book where I had a character that I just went and made up a name, but I could pronounce it. And that's the thing. You need to be able to pronounce the name of the character that you are writing about. Yeah. Alright, Becca Yarnos, author of her dragon-filled fantasy Fourth Wing, found herself in such a situation during a recent interview in New York Comic-Con. She mispronounced several of the Scottish Gaelic words from the novel. But the blunder, or the viral TikTok a native speaker made to express frustration with how the language was clearly deployed. This is also known as cultural appropriation, and I told my brother about this. I said, she appropriated a living culture's language. He goes, yep, that's wrong. What we're witnessing in real time, how corners of the publishing industry have become akin to fast fashion, pushing out a steady stream of content because they know readers influenced by social media reviews will keep buying despite any glaring ethical concerns. And this is the thing, when I always hear people talk about on TikTok, we cannot participate in cultural appropriation. We cannot do this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, first and foremost, if you are willing to overlook certain people and certain things, you have no business talking about cultural appropriation. Nothing at all. Please stop. Please stop. It says here, when I attended the midnight premiere of Iron Flame at the Barnes & Noble in Union Square. I have no idea where Union Square is at. This week, all 4 floors of the bookstore were buzzing with excited fans, many of them dressed up as dragon riders. Now, I will say this, okay? I have not seen this in a very long time. It just makes me laugh. Because I remember in 2001, when me, my brother, and my mother went to see Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, I dressed up as a witch. Yes, I did it. I'll admit to it, I did it. It makes me laugh because it really shows how passionate people are about a book. And that's always a good thing, to be passionate about a book. It reminded me of Harry Potter. And then came the Q&A portion where Yarros readily admitted, guys, I don't speak Gaelic. I am really sorry, but I did find a tutor. I may butcher these words right now, but so please have some grace for me. Next year I will have some better pronunciation for you, I promise. A publisher shouldn't be comfortable with having an author so openly take inspiration from a subject matter they're not intimately familiar with. But social media has shifted things. Mentions of Yarros and her books alone have reached up to more than 1 billion views on TikTok, where a subset called Book Talk has boomed the popularity of romantasy genre. Now, I'm going to say this, okay? I had never heard of romantasy before in my entire life. I just like, there was romance, there was fantasy. I'm talking about the 90s type of thing. It was romance and fantasy were two separate things. Then I have romantasy. And in all honesty, I have Fourth Wing. I have Fourth Wing as a Kindle edition because I do not trust Amazon with my physical book. So I'm going to go to Barnes & Noble and buy the physical book. I am enjoying Fourth Wing. Surprisingly, I am enjoying Fourth Wing. And yes, I will say this is an issue that should not be ignored by publishers, about how problematic not being able to speak Gaelic or Gaelic is to people, and people should care about that, but they don't, because it's the dragons, people love the dragons, and also shows one thing, like if I wrote a book that had dragons in it, people would literally love it. Why? Game of Thrones, all that stuff. Yours publisher of Red Tower Books, a new imprint of Entangled Publishing and a distribution of Macmillan, is a byproduct of that culture. Although Red Tower is only a year old, it has been the helm of some of the most buzzworthy fantasy book launches in this decade. And recently the publisher managed to sell its most hardcore consumer book sight unseen. So it says here that they had so basically there was a, it says here, okay, there was no title cover photo. People bought it purely on hype. That would be fine if the untitled book, which sold at Target, was something new, but it wasn't. Readers received a special edition of Fourth Wing, a book that most of them already owned. This is my issue with special edition books, and I'm going to say this. My mystery book is going to have regular print and large print. And my brother actually said you can actually have the option of having large print. And I am doing it for all those poor people out there. Not financial poor, but poor people out there that need glasses to read a book. I'm doing it for you guys. I'm doing it for you. I know how you feel. I honestly know how you feel. Because, yeah, I wear these. The formula is similar to that of retail drops, where brands release limited edition fashion lines that sell out in an instant, but instead of clothes, readers are snatching up books. Now, as somebody that was made fun of for being a bookworm, and seeing this as something that is just, ooh, I am happy that bookworms can now say, oh, see, you're one of us. Though, when I did my impression videos, the point of it, and I mentioned this in it, was to show people that, yes, I actually do read books. I actually do read the books that I do reviews on. It does take a lot of time and a lot of energy to do that, because I'm used to, just flat out reading the book and just waiting until I'm done with it before I actually review it. But that was something that was new for me to do. But yeah, I mean, literally this one person had I think 11 different versions of one book. Because she is I think it's a V.E. Schwab fan. Yeah. That's a little too much for me. And that's why I think people kind of give that impression, or feel that it is fast fashion, because people literally have to buy every single editions of the same book when they could have saved up their bookcase space for something else. Okay. Perhaps that feels like a relatively guilt-free purchase in comparison. First, Red Tower makes a hush-hush announcement about a special new project on social. Maybe they're releasing a collectible edition with sprayed edges, or it's an entirely new series. In any event, they won't publish a ton of copies. Forcing skepticism is their friend, because it creates a never-ending altar of hype, but the quality of the physical books and the writing inside gets sacrificed as a result. One of the first lessons of Gaelic is that the adjective comes after the noun, not before it, explained in TikTok prior to the Comic-Con Gothy as Yarrow's misuse of the language in the book. A translation for the family of blue dragons is the book's, I can't pronounce it, breaks down, Gorn blue and, I can't pronounce, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. When kind of properly, it should read shadow blue, not blue shadow. Alright, let's see here. if someone were to take a similar haphazardly approach to a more well-known language like Spanish or Italian, readers would be up in arms, and rightfully so. Scottish Gaelic is one of the many minoritized languages that fantasy authors, a lot of them white Americans, really draw inspiration from. As here, for example, Serge Moss is most known for Court of Thorn and Roses, has been criticized for relying on the trope. And this is something else. I'm part Scottish. I'm part Scottish. People don't know that, but I'm part Scottish. And I would really love to learn how to speak Gaelic. But the fact that she butchered a minoritized tongue is not good. Now, does it erase the fact that I'm enjoying the book? No, it doesn't. But it definitely makes me more aware that there are people out there that are bastardizing these tongues. If I ever wrote a book that had somebody who was Scottish speaking Gaelic, I would go and I would at least put it through Google Translate. Because if I did it that way, I probably would have a better chance of actually passing the character off as being Gaelic, because he's from Scotland, so of course he's Gaelic. But yeah, when done properly, referencing historical events can be educational for readers. Yarrow and her publisher should have employed a Gaelic scholar to review the book before publishing, and the forthcoming audiobook, which is currently rifled with mispronunciations, should be oriented by a native Gaelic speaker, or at least someone who has taken the time to learn it properly. The index could even include a pronunciation guide so that readers could get familiar with the language and its history. And this is a thing that gets me about it. So when I go and hear someone defend people buying like 80, 90 books that they will never read, and I know people can say, oh well, I saw these giant book hauls that you have. Well, 30% of the books in those giant book hauls I've already read. And I have a system that I employ to read these books. And I'm not in a hurry to read them all. That's why, like, all the books I haven't read are in the living room, in totes, or in stacks. And I actually look at the chapters and figure out, okay, I'm going to finish the book on this day. And when I finish the book, I do the book review, I put it in the pile, I do what I do, and then I put it on into the bookcase. And that is, as my grows, I make room for more books. But yeah, it really gets me about people. But I don't buy those books because I'm trying to compete with other book talkers. I buy the books because I literally went into a spending frenzy. And almost at the cost of me not being able to get home. Which is a lesson I learned. And I learned that sometimes you're just going to have to kind of tone down on the spending when you go into a bookstore. And just get the books either that you have read that you liked, or are a couple of new ones, or a couple of much older ones. So yeah, that's a lesson I learned that one time. I almost didn't get home. So they talk about that there's a it says here the series just last week the rights for all 5 books, 3 of which don't exist yet, were secured by Amazon MGM Studios, and Michael B. Jordan's Outliner Society. It would be a true disservice to Scottish Gaelic terms, ended up being mispronounced on the screen too. Yeah. So, yeah. So, to say that the article did not make any valid points or they constructed it poorly is essentially saying I'm going to defend my complete disregard for other people's opinions. Oh, Bloomsbury is not, they're like, oh yeah, Bloomsbury, they don't know what they're talking about. Bloomsbury and a lot of other places, they're a lot more observant than we give them credit for. And I think that is the issue that I've got with people that want to defend a lot of things about Book Talk that I just don't like. Like, I have really seriously scaled back my content for Book Talk. Only I'm going back to um, reading I always read books, but mainly reading books and book hauls. Like the 16th, I'm going to go to Barnes & Noble. I'm only taking one bag with me. And the reason for this is that I am going to pick up 2 new releases. I'm going to pick up Foxglove King, and I'm also going to pick up another one of Sarah J. Maas's books. So I'm only going to probably buy maybe 6 to 8 books, and that is it. So when I come home, it's not really going to be a book haul. It's going to be more of a, yeah, I went to the bookstore, bought like 8 books, and all that. And the reason for that is that I'm really trying to really curb how many books I actually purchase in one setting, because I still have a lot of books I haven't read and all that. So yeah, it's something that I really have to be in more control of. And that will just mean that books that I have to read I want to read next will go and be ordered by Amazon, because Barnes & Noble probably won't have the book. And yeah, so really, really kind of limiting how much books I actually purchase physically. But yeah, so I'm going to end it here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I am going to upload this video and then I'm going to bed. So I'll see you guys around. Bye.